Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today we got a Joey Engelman video, and this one is Movies That Should Not Exist, Iceberg Explained. Let me go get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment what you think down below. Let's go.
I went through some of the most unusual movie-related Wikipedia articles, and I put all of them into an iceberg chart, with the most commonly known things at the very top, and then the farther down we go, the more obscure and bizarre things get. So these are some of the worst movies ever made, the most dangerous movies ever made, movies that shouldn't exist, movies that technically don't exist, and then one movie all about some dude's butt. Here we go. We're starting off with tier 1. I'm sure we're all pretty familiar with the Flintstones, but did you know that they made a collaboration with the WWE? In 2015,
Yes, I did. I have watched this. This is a ridiculously ridiculous movie. It's so dumb. They did one with this one. They did one with Scooby-Doo. I think they did one with the Jetsons or the Jetstones, whatever the hell they're called. Hold on. I forget who it was. I had a dumb dipshit brain. I can't remember what it is. WWE cartoon. Jetsons. Yeah, the Jetsons. They done with Surf's Up. Yeah, so Scooby-Doo, Jetsons, Surf's Up. Flintstones, they've done me to some weird ones.
Flintstones came back from their 14-year hiatus with a collaboration with the WWE. The movie
14 years and not how you return? Alrighty, I've seen some things. That's a new one.
Movie featured some of the most famous wrestlers of the time: John Cena Stone, CM Punk Rock, Marble Henry, Daniel Byrock, and The Undertaker. No name change for him. This was actually the...
I will admit, the part that's hilarious to me is Marble Henry. I think that's the only one where, like, they didn't even try to keep the name. They just wanted something else.
Last WWE-related project that CM Punk did, and it came out a year after he left WWE. But because the movie was so far ahead in development, they couldn't figure out a way for him to be edited out without causing significant delays. And then my personal favorite fun fact, this is apparently the first time a toilet was shown in a Flintstones cartoon. Neat. I don't know who's connecting those dots, but I'm really glad that they did. Birdemic Shock and Terror is one of the most beloved bad movies in history. It hurts so good. I watched this movie years ago and I still think about it almost every day. Basically, every second of this movie is an anomaly, and some scenes just drag out forever. The first 10 minutes of this movie is just a guy driving his car and then stopping for gas, and we see everything. Not a moment is cut out from this. And the birds don't even show up until like 40 minutes in. The animation...
Jesus Christ. That sounds like such a bad movie. Who wrote this? Who did that? Who thought, oh, we're gonna have a movie with birds attack people? Okay, they're not gonna show up to like 50 minutes into like this hour or something movie. I'll really hook them. They'll really be hooked if they spend 10 minutes watching someone drive and get some gas. That's the most engaging part of the movies. I mean, maybe we're just wrong. Maybe we just don't understand the world of movies. Maybe, just maybe, when you're sitting there and you're watching this movie, and you are engaged, because you're wondering where this guy's driving to for 10 fucking minutes, and you're sitting there at the edge of your seat, and then when he pulls into the gas station, you're euphoria. You get euphoria, you're on the edge of your seat. You're jumping for joy, you're celebrating, because he's getting some gas. Maybe we're the dumb ones, because we don't understand the brilliance of these writers. Of these marvelous writers who wrote this brilliant bird movie.
Looks like it was made by middle schoolers. The director has stated the obvious, which is that he was heavily inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Of all of the moments in this movie, the one thing that will be embedded in my brain for as long as I live will be that one clip during the sex scene that shows the love interest's feet. They're so gross. They're so dirty. I don't even blame the actress. It is totally on the production crew. How does anyone on that side of the camera not point out how dirty her feet are and at least offer a wet wipe or something. The film does have credits for crew members, but almost all of the names are fake. The lead actress said that most of the time they didn't get any film permits. One time they were filming on a public jogging trail and the director was shouting at joggers as they were passing by for getting in their shot, and she meant
Go, there's a random dude running, this guy just starts running at you, but hey, I'm a film in here. You can't be here, there's a film set. There's a film set, you can't be in here. And then just like, this is a freaking public Walmart, you can't be here, it's a set. Just the people acting, all like, what the fuck is going on? Just completely like, hey, you get this shit down on set. On this jogging trail, they're all jogging. Why are they jogging in this trail?
mentioned, hey, you can't be yelling at random people, and he retaliated by not talking to her for 3 weeks. The movie is
These people are so stupid. I love it. There's no wonder this movie is so notoriously known for being total shit. Everything about it's bad. Production's bad, quality's bad, everything's fucking bad. Oh my god. It's hilarious.
Supposed to be a statement about the way we treat the environment, but it's also supposed to be an anti-war movie, but it's also supposed to be a romantic movie. It somehow accomplishes none of these things. We wouldn't even know Birdemic existed if it wasn't for the creator's passionate guerrilla marketing efforts. This dude drove to Sundance Film Festival, parked his van outside of the theater so he could pass flyers out. The van behind him had a bunch of stuffed birds and paper signs that read biddemic.com and why did the eagles and vultures attacked? Well,
this is our marketing. This is the type of marketing the world should be doing. This is why movie industry is in the shape it's in these days. Because we don't gotta act like this. Where are these people when we need them? Where is pandemic.com? Why the eagles and vultures attacked? Where is this marketing? See, if it was around today, I bet you this would have gone all the hits. This is what would have gone into all the hits. See, they were just ahead of their time. This is what true marketing is supposed to be.
I mean, once you see that, you gotta find out. From there, word of mouth brought Birdemic a ton of attention with horror film websites, and the rest is history. Ever wonder what the most uses of the F word in a film is? Check out the fuckumentary called Fuck from 2005.
All I need to see, where do I find this? I need to just see what this. Hold on, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Let's see what this is about before I say I need to see this.
Because it uses the F word at a rate of 9.21 fucks per minute. I say to check that out, but that is still not the most uses of the F word in a single film. The winner for that award goes to SwearNet the movie from 2014. It was made by the writers and stars of the comedy series Trailer Park Boys, and it has a total of 935 fucks. I don't even know if I've said that word that many times in my life, and they were able to accomplish that in 112 minutes. In case you were wondering, it did not get an R rating. It had to get the rarely used NC-17 rating. Let me tell you about the anomaly that is the film Z. Isaac's Road. I think that's how you pronounce it. Z. Isaac's Road is a 2006 thriller starring Katherine Heigl, and its big claim to fame is that it's possibly the lowest grossing movie in US history, bringing in the box office only $30. And all of this
What's it called? Hold on, I need to look. I need to see something quickly. Is there an actual thing of how much this... He might even say it, I just need to know. No, so the budget was $2 million and they only made 30. They only made 30 bucks. A budget of $2 million and they only made 30. Can you tell them they are the worst movie in history? Oh no, at least worst growing movie in history ever. Oh my fucking god. $30. 30 whole dollars. That's it. To a $2 million budget. Jesus Christ.
Isaac's Road. I think that's how you pronounce it. Z. Isaac's Road is a 2006 thriller starring Katherine Heigl, and its big claim to fame is that it's possibly the lowest grossing movie in US history, bringing in the box office only $30. And all of this was on purpose. It was only shown in one theater for 6 days. The director, John Penny, didn't want a wide release in America, but in order for it to be distributed in foreign markets, it has to have certain obligations for theaters. This bizarre strategy led the film to only get $30 in the box office, but only netting $20. The $10 difference is because the lead actor personally refunded 2 of the tickets because they were bought by one of the film's makeup artists and her friend that wanted to see the movie. Reddit user PJA Brony noted that if you list movies by gross or in alphabetical order, either way, this film is last. Mockbusters. Not the movie you want, but the bargain bin equivalent. Mockbusters are knockoffs of big movies that are usually timed to be released simultaneously.
Sunday School Musical. Sunday School Musical. I don't know why that was the one that caught my attention.
With the big movie in order to confuse consumers into paying to see their movie. For example, Snakes on a Train capitalized on the internet hype surrounding Snakes on a Plane. And there's some other really weird ones. Little and Big Monster. Ratatouille. What's up? Balloon to the rescue. The legality of this all is still pretty gray, because mockbusters absolutely do have an intent to deceive consumers into purchasing their movies instead of these other more famous movies. That being said, usually they're able to get away with it. Plan 9 from Outer Space, the epitome of so bad it's good cinema. This movie stars Bela Lugosi, who's known for playing Dracula, but he actually passed away before this movie was even filmed. Footage of the actor had been shot by filmmaker Ed Wood for another unfinished movie, which was then inserted into Plan 9 from Outer Space, obviously without permission, the disrespect, and then in kind of a fitting way.
I will say that is very disrespectful, to just put a movie in of, put the footage of some other actors into the movie without anyone's permission. Yeah, that's like disrespectful completely.
Filmmaker Ed Wood and his movie were posthumously given the awards of Worst Director Ever and Worst Film Ever. The disrespect. The script for this movie clearly needed a huge budget, and they didn't have it. The story goes, aliens are concerned that humans are creating a doomsday weapon that will destroy the entire universe, and to stop them, the aliens resurrect all of the Earth's dead and hope that this will make the humans listen to them. Feels like they took an already complicated situation and then they thought, you know what would make this even more messy? Zombies. I would love to know what plans 1 through 8 looked like. Today it's looked back on as one of the worst movies ever made. I was actually surprised to see that it has a pretty favorable 66% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not bad. And most people claim that its ineptitude adds to its charm. Plan 9 from Outer Space is an unintentionally hilarious sci-fi thriller from anti-genius Ed Wood. Anti-genius? The disrespect. Let's head down now to tier 2. What happens when you mix Jesus, lesbians, and vampires into one movie? You get Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. This is one wild fever dream. It includes a Mexican wrestler, lesbian vampires, an epic martial arts fight against atheists, all spliced up with a 90s techno soundtrack. A notable scene is while Jesus fights a vampire in one of the Great Lakes, he blesses the water and the entire lake becomes holy water and he boils the vampire away. Redditor Hawanja says, best part of this movie is when Jesus slits a guy's throat and then heals him right after, then says something like, even this can't stop my love for you. And I have a ton of respect for the filmmakers. They shot this all on weekends over the course of a 2-year period because everybody working on the film had full-time jobs. Maidstone is a 1970 film about a director running for president while being targeted for assassination attempts, and it's lived on in infamy for several reasons. It was written, directed, and starring Norman Mailer. By the time the film was completed, Norman Mailer had to file for bankruptcy. The film is now most famous for an improvised fight that happens between Norman Mailer and Rip Torn. If you're my age, you would probably recognize him from Dodgeball. But the story goes, Mailer never filmed the last scene of the movie with his character getting assassinated, and Rip Torn took the matter into his own hands. As the camera rolled, Torn struck Mailer in the head with a hammer, intending to kill his character. He busted this guy's head wide open, and they get into this huge brawl until the fight was broken up by Mailer's wife and their wailing children. This fight got so intense, Mailer bit off a small chunk of Torn's ear. And all of this made the final cut of the movie, even though the actors are calling themselves by their real names. My favorite part is that after the fight, Rip Torn is trying to comfort Mailer's children, and he says, "That's right, baby, no more fighting. It's just a scene in a Hollywood whorehouse movie." He's just completely unhinged in this clip. And if it was...
How did this get in the movie? This is, you know what? That's cinema. That is cinema right there. Fuck your other shit. That's what cinema's meant to be.
Film today, it would be the top post on the public freakout subreddit. Rip Torn apparently had a reputation of getting into fights on film sets. He actually was taken to court by Dennis Hopper, who claims that Torn attacked him with a knife. Rip Torn won this case on the claim that he could not have possibly killed Hopper, as he was at the time on the set of Maidstone trying to kill Norman Mailer. The 1964 film Empire was created by Andy Warhol, and it consists entirely of 8 hours of still footage of the Empire State Building. If you're interested, the full 8-hour film is available for free on YouTube, but what's even better is that today on YouTube you can check out all of these sped up versions of this movie that people have edited, which hilariously undoes everything that Warhol probably meant this project to be, which is a study of time. If you've ever heard of United Passions, to me, it sounds like one of the most colossal failures, and it was funded almost entirely by FIFA just to show how great they are. It was dunked on by critics as propaganda, and it's considered one of the worst films of all time. United Passions might be the lamest name for anything I've ever heard, ever, and yet it's still better than some of the other movie titles that FIFA suggested, which were Men of Legends and The Dream Makers. In the United States, this film grossed only $918. It probably didn't help that it came out around the same time as the 2015 FIFA corruption case. The investigation led to the resignation of FIFA's president, who is supposed to be the star and hero of this movie. Tim Roth stars as Sepp Blatter. Roth has said that he asked the filmmakers, "Where's all the corruption in the script? Where's all the backstabbing, the deals?" I don't know what Roth was expecting. They're not gonna talk shit about themselves. I think the best take for this movie came from John Oliver, where he said, "Who makes a sports film where the heroes are the executives?" The film also faced very valid criticisms for the cost of production, which was over 16 million pounds, which is more than the annual turnover of most of FIFA's national associations. Going onto the IMDb page is pretty funny because I guess part of me was expecting the bio to sort of break character and let us know how it really is. It doesn't. An epic, untold story that brings to life the inspiring saga of the World Cup and the 3 determined men who created it. Oh yeah? On Rotten Tomatoes, this film has the honor of holding the distinguished approval rating of 0%. The trailer for this movie on YouTube has over 500,000 views, and I can almost guarantee that is more than the actual film itself. The Cure for Insomnia is a movie that runs for 85 hours. It's not the longest movie ever screened, but it was at the time. There's no plot, and it's really just an artist reading his poem, A Cure for Insomnia, which happens to be 4,000 pages long. It took 3.5 days for him to read it, and I guess in an attempt to make the film a little bit more interesting, they occasionally splice in clips of heavy metal and pornographic videos. But don't worry, if you're not interested in that kind of stuff, there is a shorter, cleaner version that is 80 hours long that does not have any of those clips.
Then who killed Captain Alex? Who?
Who Killed Captain Alex is a 2010 Ugandan action comedy film that was produced on a humongous budget of $85. It's considered...
That's real, that's cinema right there. That's real movies. I mean, you got all your $1 million films, your millions and millions, but you ain't gonna really make it until you have 85 bucks and you make yourself a movie. Once you got that, brothers, you made it. You made it. You made it to the star power.
Uganda's first action film, although the quality of the movie isn't really anything to write home about. It still has a ton of support because there's a lot.
85 bucks, what the hell? If fair to say 85 bucks, what the hell did you expect? I'm going on with like a fucking basic fucking editor you can find.
Ought to be celebrated in here. Plus the levels that these filmmakers had to go to get this film completed, you have to respect. Nabwana edited the film using a computer that he assembled from old parts. The film's props and camera equipment were fabricated from scrap metal. The practical blood effects were achieved by using real cow blood.
What the fuck?
I really liked this Letterboxd review from Michael Rohn, who says, "I'm not here to tell you this movie is a technical masterpiece, but rarely do I see something birthed from a genuine love and adoration for the art form. You don't need a fancy budget, good cameras, good sound, or anything like that to get the sort of love being displayed here. It just reminds me so much of what film can do." So true. In March of 2015, Wakaliwood set up a campaign on Kickstarter so that they could fund their next film with the goal of raising $160. By the next month, their campaign had over $13,000. Their YouTube channel is still super active and their quality has gotten much better. And it's just nice to see. And spoiler alert, nobody knows who killed Captain Alex. Not even the director.
I will kill you all in sequel.
I Kissed a Vampire.
I kill you all in sequel. I kill you all in the next one, not this one. I'm gonna leave you here for now. When movie part 2 comes out, you're gonna fucking die. You understand? Shut up. I'm going to kill you in the part 2. Once I raise that, shut your mouth. Once I raise that $160, I'm gonna come back and then you're going to die. And then we'll know who killed them. Not in this one. I know we called it that. Shut up. You gotta watch the sequel. Watch it.
Was a movie that had vampires, romance, music, a Disney star. What could go wrong? Well, it only brought in $1,300 in the box office. I Kissed a Vampire was a vampire rock musical, also known as a vampirical, and the lead was Disney star Lucas Grabeel, known for being in High School Musical, and it was directed by Chris Nolan. No, not that one. I think a lot of logistics are in play. It had a very limited theatrical release and was only screened in 11 theaters. And the movie technically isn't even a movie. It's more of a web series, and it was released on iTunes, and it was one of the most popular web series in iTunes history. So from what it sounds like is they took this web series, bunched them all together, called it a movie, dropped it into theaters after it was already released on iTunes, which is likely when most of the fans saw it. This movie had a website, ikissedavampire.com, but I went to it and unfortunately it's no longer up. Roundhay Garden Scene is known as the first ever moving picture, and it lasts an epic 2 seconds. French inventor Louis Le Prince photographed the scene on October 14th, 1888. The footage features a few of Louis's family members leisurely walking around the garden, and his mother-in-law is seen walking or dancing backward as she turns around. Oddly enough, his mother-in-law passed away 10 days after this was filmed, which makes Sarah Wheatley the first person who had appeared in a film to die. It's time for Tier 3. 100 Years is a film written by John Malkovich, directed by Robert Rodriguez, and seen by probably nobody that's alive today. That's because this film won't be released until the year 2115. The film is being kept in a high-tech safe behind bulletproof glass that will automatically open on November 18th, 2115. Truth is, this movie is just kind of a glorified ad inspired by the 100 years it takes to make a bottle of Louis XIII cognac. And my takeaway from all this is the movie even good? Is it gonna be worth the 100-year wait? Probably not. I don't think there's a movie on Earth that's worth the 100-year wait. I guess your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will be able to figure that out for you. What do you think happens when a family of wildlife activists attempt to make a film with over 150 untrained big cats? The answer?
It's gonna be like death. People die, people get hurt, and people suffer. All for the love of cinema.
70 members of the cast and crew getting injured, a broken dam, and a combination of financial problems resulting in millions in debt. This film has been described as the most dangerous film ever made. I'm talking about the 1981 adventure comedy film, Roar. It took 11 years to be completed, giving it one of the longest production times in film history. The production kept getting delayed because a ton of accidents kept happening. Here's a list of just some of the incidents. One of the child actors was mauled by a lion during filming and required plastic surgery. She received 50 stitches to her face. The cinematographer was mauled by a lion on set and needed 120 stitches to sew his scalp back in place. The director was attacked by wildcats so many times during production that he eventually developed gangrene. A flood from a dam break killed many of the lions in the film, washed away the set, and destroyed nearly all of the film footage. The lead actress fractured her leg when an elephant bucked her off its back. She was also bitten on the back of her head by a lioness and received 38 stitches. She once said of being bitten by the lion, lion. Let me tell you, it hurts when you're bitten by a lion. It's not only that you may have an open gaping wound plus shock, but the pressure of these enormous jaws is so strong that it hurts. Oh, okay. The production was hit by a brush fire. The assistant director was attacked and mauled by a lion. He had his throat bitten open, and one of the lions attempted to rip an ear off. Even before filming, the director's son was attacked by a lion. The result was 56 stitches. Another weird fact that I found is that Togar, the main antagonist lion in the movie, was originally owned by the founder of the Church of Satan. Also, let me tie something else into this. Remember Birdemic? Well, one of the creators of this movie and the lead actress, Tippi Hedren, was in a movie directed by the guy that made Birdemic. And the reason he casted her is because she was also in that Hitchcock film, The Birds. Dots connected. So Tippi Hedren has the honor of acting for legendary director Alfred Hitchcock and the director of Birdemic and creating one of the world's most dangerous movies ever made. Quite the resume. We've all heard about long movies, but how about a long movie trailer? Ambiance is a film that was supposed to be released on New Year's Eve of 2020, and the plan was for the movie to be 30 days long. The director released a trailer for the film in 2016, and this trailer lasts 7 hours and 20 minutes. This abstract, non-linear film features 2 performance artists on a beach in southern Sweden, and that's about it. It was planned for this film to be screened one time and then for it to be destroyed forever. As of January 2021, the film has still not been released. Manos: The Hands of Fate, a low-budget film from 1966 created by a fertilizer salesman. The creation of this movie was born out of an argument when the fertilizer salesman mentioned to a screenwriter that making a horror film is not all that difficult, and he bet he can make one on his own. What he ended up making is largely considered the worst movie in history. For decades, this film lived in obscurity until 1993 when Mystery Science Theater 3000 featured it in one of their episodes. The film is notable for its technical deficiencies, especially its editing and continuity flaws. One of the more clear examples of this is in the beginning of the film when a clapboard is visible after a cut. All of the sound effects and dialogue were dubbed later on in post-production, and it was only done by a handful of people. One of the kid actresses...
Oh, I'd love to make my own horror movie. I ain't got the skills to though, but damn, it'd be fun.
When they premiered the movie, remembers crying when she heard another woman's dubbed voice coming out of her mouth on screen. For the premiere, the director arranged for a spotlight to be used at the cinema and for the cast to be brought to the theater by limousine, but he only had the budget for one limousine, so the driver had to drop off one group and then drive around the block to pick up another. For several years, this film was the lowest rated movie on IMDb, and as of right now, it's ranked the 3rd worst. Manos: The Hands of Fate has 2 sequels and a video game adaptation, and credit where it's due, he did end up winning his bet, proving that he was capable of making an entire horror movie on his own. So good on him, I guess. Monster A Go-Go is a 1965 film that was released to drive-ins when it was only halfway completed. And in order to get around this, the ending consists of just narration explaining what happens to the main characters. If I'm being honest, the plot for the movie sounds pretty fun. As his spacecraft is returning to Earth, an astronaut vanishes and is apparently replaced by or turned into a large radioactive humanoid monster. Sounds fun. The failure here is clearly in the execution of it all. Filmmaker Herschel Gordon Lewis needed a second film to show with his own feature, Moonshine Mountain, so he bought the film Monster A Go-Go, which was never even completed because they ran out of money. So Lewis added a few extra scenes, included some new dialogue, and then released it, which created an odd, disjointed film with little continuity. At one point, when a phone is supposed to be ringing, it's very clear that the sound is coming from a person's mouth. He wasn't able to gather all of the original cast, which resulted in almost half of the characters disappearing midway through the film. One of the actors that Lewis was able to rehire had dramatically changed his look, which led to him playing the brother of the original character. So because the last part of the movie was never filmed and it's just narration, it's not even technically a movie, it's just someone explaining the movie to you. Therefore, I consider Monster A Go-Go the LaCroix of monster movies. Nothing lasts forever, and that's especially true for the film Nothing Lasts Forever. Produced almost 40 years ago in 1984, this movie has still never technically had a theatrical or home release. Not for lack of star power, that's for sure. It was directed by Tom Schiller, produced by Lorne Michaels, and it's got a strong supporting cast including Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. So why was it never released? Reportedly, there were some unspecified legal issues, and that's about all I could find for it. But there are rumors that the real reason it was never ever released is that it's just a really weird movie. It was shot mostly in black and white, and it feels like it was pulled straight out of the 1930s and had a lot of very experimental elements to it. An artist fails a test and has to direct traffic in New York City, then winds up following a woman to the moon on a bus filled with senior citizens. Still, it feels crazy to me that a movie with so many stars attached to it, produced within the last 40 years, could be considered a lost film. Although it's not considered a lost film anymore, the movie was uploaded to YouTube in 2011, and a lot of the scenes are still up on there, and it was aired on Turner Classic Films in 2015. Plus, there have been some screenings of the film with Q&A sessions afterwards, and the thing is, it's a very well-liked film. Fans have applauded it for being very unique and dreamy with a lot of heart. Maybe the love for this movie has to do with the mystique of it all, but either way, Nothing Lasts Forever has achieved cult classic status. Seems like it will last forever after all, in our hearts. Pulgasari is a Godzilla-esque film, but the creators of this film and the story behind it are way more interesting than the film could ever be, because it was produced by Kim Jong-il and a director whom he kidnapped. Sang Ok-shin was a director.
My man kidnapped the person just to have him direct a film. Listen, you ain't ever gonna have a good film the director is against his will. I don't think he's gonna give you his best quality here.
In South Korea that Kim Jong-il was a big fan of. And Jong-il wanted to create North Korea's own Godzilla, but he didn't feel super confident with all of the directors that were available in North Korea. So in order to get a director attached to this project that he was confident in, he kidnapped Shin's ex-wife after luring her to Hong Kong, which he knew would make Shin go to Hong Kong and search for her, where he then was captured himself. While in captivity,
This is insanely fascinating. How someone was able to do this.
under Kim Jong-il, these two worked on several movies together. This was the final movie the director made before he and his ex-wife were able to escape to the US. There's also a lot of theories that the director subtly was trying to make Pulgasari out to be an allegory for Kim Jong-il. It wasn't shown outside of North Korea or South Korea for 2 decades after its release in 1985. It was finally shown in Japan in 1998 for its first international viewing. The Other Side of the Wind was considered for decades to be the most famous film never released. And as of today, it has the longest production time in film history, which is 48 years. Legendary filmmaker Orson Welles began production on this film in 1970, but he passed away before he was able to complete the film. Decades of legal battles kept the film from being finished, and in 2011, the French lab that stored the film negative went bankrupt and materials went missing. Before his death, Orson Welles left behind over 100 hours of footage, as well as a work print consisting of assemblies and a few edited scenes. At one point, Peter Bogdanovich tried to get a crowdfunding campaign off the ground. More than $400,000 were raised for the campaign, but it ultimately failed. In the video, someone mentions that this is like a lost Picasso painting that was rolled up in a closet somewhere. In March of 2017, it was finally announced that Netflix had purchased the rights to this film. The film debuted 48 years after principal photography had begun. The plot synopsis for The Other Side of the Wind is strangely similar to the real-life scenario for this movie, because it's the story of a legendary director struggling to complete a new project and contemplating his legacy. I would consider this one of those strange phenomenons where life imitates art. Night of the Day of the Dawn is, oh, excuse me, this is actually the full thing. Night of the Day of the Dawn of the Sun of the Bride of the Return of the Revenge of the Terror of the Attack of the Evil Mutant Alien Flesh-Eating Hell-Bound Zombified Living Dead Part 2. Woo!
There you go. That's a movie title. That's the marquee. That's the marquee right there, ladies and gentlemen.
I did that first try. It also sometimes has the added title of In Shocking 2D. Part 1 of this movie has never been released, so technically people consider Part 2 as the beginning of this series. The movie was created by just redubbing the classic horror film Night of the Living Dead with comedic dialogue and by adding new clips. But with 41 words in the title, it holds the distinction of being the longest English language movie title ever made. If you're interested in checking it out, the whole movie is available on YouTube for free. You could probably just search Night of the Day of the Dawn, just so that you don't have to type in the whole movie title, and yeah, you're welcome for that. Modern Times Forever is considered the second longest film ever shot, 10 whole days of one building decaying. And it was also screened in front of itself. The disrespect. Created by Danish artist group Superflex, Modern Times Forever is a film work that envisions what would happen to the building over the next few thousand years should only time and weather affect it. The film was first shown in the Helsinki Market Square where this building is actually located. Someone could see the original building while also watching it decay in the film. The film was played for 10 days non-stop, but the makers of the film have stated that the intentions were not for this film to be seen from beginning to end. Thank God. Surf Nazis Must Die is an American post-apocalyptic action exploitation film from
I got nothing.
1987. When the grandson of a gun-wielding woman is murdered by neo-Nazi surf punks in the post-apocalyptic future, this grandma hunts them down for some bloodthirsty revenge. The thumbnail for the movie trailer on IMDb is a girl with a swastika painted on her cheek, and throughout the movie, the surf Nazis' swastikas are facing different directions, which also changes the meaning behind the symbol. A review on Letterboxd by Lau says, "This was a lot more enjoyable than I expected it to be. I loved the synth-heavy score, and I got some serious Terminator vibes from it. And while I was doing more research on this, I actually discovered that surf Nazis is a very real thing, and that Jonah Hill started a merch line for surf Jews to combat this." Paint Drying is a brilliant film that was created to test the patience of the British Board of Film Classification by showing a 607-minute long shot of white paint drying on a brick wall. Charlie Lin created paint drying in 2006 as a protest against censorship, specifically in relation to the expensive submission fees to the BBFC, which is over £100 plus a £7 per minute fee. So on average, film certificates cost about £1,000, which basically prices out independent filmmakers from getting their films certified and then screened. But he found that the BBFC is also required to sit through whatever the filmmakers pay them to watch. So he set out and created a Kickstarter campaign with all of the money by the campaign going towards the cost of the certificate. So the final length of the film would be determined on how much money is raised. My personal favorite part is in the FAQ. There's a question that says, "Can I have my name in the end credits?" There are no end credits. It's just an unbroken shot of paint drying on a brick wall. Close to £6,000 were funded, leading to the final runtime of 10 hours and 7 minutes. And the BBFC gave this film a U rating, meaning that it's suitable for all ages. On the Art of Cinema. It's technically not a movie, it's a book about movie making, and I love learning about film theory, so thank you so much to whoever made this. Who is the author? Oh, whoops, it's North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. You might think Kim Jong-il has no authority to teach people about film theory, and you're probably right, but the dude loved movies. I haven't read this book personally, but from what I've learned about it, most of the things in this book are so painfully obvious. The mood must be expressed well. Music should be appropriate to the scenes. Thanks, Kim Jong-il. And the rest of the film theory that he presents in this book are really just a means to justify propaganda in movies. He uses what's called the seed theory, the idea that all artistic interpretation is done through a single ideological foundation. So in this case, the single ideological foundation is the North Korean government, and the director's task is to prevent anything foreign from the seed from entering the movie. I can't say that I know much about North Korean cinema, but according to the Wikipedia, the impact of On the Art of Cinema on North Korea filmmaking is disputed. Films from before and after the publication are similar in style, and many contemporary films breach various rules laid out in the treaties. The book has 2.5 stars on Goodreads. Long before the days of Samuel L. Jackson on a plane, there was S. That's 7 S's, by the way. The story of S is about a college student that becomes a lab assistant to a scientist who is working on a serum that can transform humans into snakes.
Why? I don't know.
And unfortunate for him, he is his next test subject. Originally titled Snake, the distributors had the title changed to just S to keep the film more mysterious. All of the venomous snakes that were featured were authentic. The milking scenes were real. About 1 ounce of venom was collected during each take. For his transformation into a snake, Dirk spent up to 7 hours in makeup, and in the final stages of the transformation, he had to be carried to the set on a stretcher. The film also features this one scene of a dude attacking someone like he's a snake. It's very goofy looking. Quick fun fact, the film's executive producers went on to produce Jaws. The Day the Clown Cried is a notorious unreleased film about the Holocaust by Jerry Lewis, and it's a comedy. This movie was...
Yeah. I don't think I needed a movie about the Holocaust. I don't think I needed that.
was originally written to be a really intense and sad drama, but during rewrites and when Jerry Lewis became attached to it, it sort of became a comedy. But because the new filmmakers didn't technically own the rights to the film, they had to show the original writers a rough cut of the film to gain necessary rights to release the film. But after viewing the product, they did not agree to have this film released, and it still has never been released to this day. The film features a washed up German circus clown during the beginning of World War II, who eventually is imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp. From reading the plot on Wikipedia, the ending of this movie could not be more bleak. While in the concentration camp, this clown uses his performance as a way to cheer up kids. He eventually is used in a Pied Piper fashion to help lead the children to their deaths in the gas chamber. There's a quote from a writer who saw a screening of it, and they said that it's the most perfect disaster ever made. And Jerry Lewis himself wrote it off as well, putting in his contract that it couldn't be released until at least the year 2024. And a last little tidbit that I had to fit in here, apparently to prepare for his role, he lost 35 pounds by eating nothing but grapefruit for 6 weeks. Just thought I'd add that in there. The longest, most meaningless movie in the world runs for 48 hours. Despite its title, it's not the world's longest movie, but the jury is still out on whether it's the most meaningless. No actual footage was shot for this project. It just consists of commercials, strips of undeveloped film, and other materials. I will give credit where it's due. It was at the time the longest movie ever made, but has since been surpassed by several others. And the thing about this is I couldn't find a single clip from this movie. The only two things that I was able to find were the movie poster and this one still of a woman and a dinosaur. There's a lot of other videos online that claim to be the longest and the most meaningless movie in the world, which makes the research for this film next to impossible. Even searching for the director brings up nothing. It might not be the longest, and it might not be the most meaningless movie in the world, but it is one of the most mysterious. First on the Moon is a documentary that proves the Soviets made it to the moon 30 years before the US did. Except it's not a documentary, but they had some Russian newspapers fooled at first. When elements of the plot first started leaking out, a number of Russian newspapers treated it as a documentary about a real 1938 event, referring to it as the Santiago meteorite. In reality, the film is fiction from beginning to end. To quote the director, he considers it either historical drama or documentary fantasy. I can definitely understand how a lot of these mockumentaries and found footage films at first seem real, and I will say the disclaimer that when I first looked at these clips, I had already known in advance that they're fake. That being said, the footage is just way too clear to exist in the 1930s. Also, look at this clip that they had of a pig drinking alcohol and then shooting it up into the sky with a rocket. It is pretty immersive though, between the equipment that they're using, the costumes, the setting. I really do like the genre name documentary fantasy. I think that that has a nice ring to it, and it fits this movie well. Empires of the Deep is a $140 million unreleased film disaster. The film was supposed to be a pet project by Chinese billionaire John Jiang, and he believed that with his wealth, he would be able to produce an epic film to the same vein as Hollywood filmmakers like Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Peter Jackson. The screenplay eventually went through 40 drafts and took over 4 years to develop. The billionaire envisioned this film as Transformers meets Shakespeare, and when he described that to the director, he replied that the film would likely alienate one of those audiences. Fair enough. There were also a lot of communication difficulties between Lawrence and Jiang, partially due to Lawrence's translator's fear of insulting Jiang. At one point, Lawrence joked that they should build a large wall to hide a beach resort from the film's cameras. He found a wall actually being built when he arrived to shoot at the location. Many of the actors
Let's go make a joke like having to build walls. You need to get away from the film cameras and all that. Film directors. And they were just like, that's a great idea. Let's actually build it. He was like, I was joking. I was joking.
and crew were paid late and some weren't even paid at all. And when they complained about this, police were sent to a hotel to check the visas of Russian extras as an intimidation tactic. The working conditions on set were so harsh and unsafe, one of the actresses quit halfway through filming, and when the producers found out, they withheld her passport and told her that she needs to repay her salary in order to get it back, which led to her and her boyfriend secretly escaping from the set. Thankfully, she had some help with the director, some sympathetic crew members, and local police. But what a shit show show. Just to give you a sense of how long it's aged, it was intended to be released in 2011 in 3D. The film was supposed to be the start of a franchise akin to Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. It was supposed to have accompanying animated series, video games, a theme park. Of course, all of them are. You can actually find the trailer for this on YouTube, and it's definitely worth watching because I've really never seen anything strike the balance between high budget and low budget all at the same time. As of January 2022, the film has not been released. It's gone through 4 directors, 10 script writers, and many of the actors and crew members have still gone unpaid. Logistics is the world's longest film ever made. It's crazy for me to read these numbers. It clocks in at 51,420 minutes or 35 days and 17 hours. And the whole thing follows the entire 5-week process of making and selling a pedometer in reverse chronological order. Someone on IMDb claims that they watched the whole thing and they gave it 5 out of 10 stars. Not bad. They praise the cinematography, the cast, from the ships, hey, wait a minute. And they say the acting is great, although they weren't able to make out any of the dialogue because it's in reverse. So they plan to rewatch it again, but this time in chronological order. The whole movie is available to rent on Vimeo for $15, and they do you the honor of giving you timestamps for each day. As for me, I think I'll wait for the director's cut. In Alan Smithee film, Burn Hollywood Burn, it's not often a movie turns out so bad that it changes the film industry forever. I gotta give some context before I get into this. Alan Smithee is a name used in film credits when the director no longer wants their name attached to the project.
That is amazing. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. There was a name that was put there when a director doesn't want their name known. That is amazing.
This movie is about a director that makes a bad movie, but he can't take his name off the movie because his real name is Alan Smithee. It's got a pretty bizarre cast too. It has cameos from Coolio, Whoopi Goldberg, Sylvester Stallone, and in reality, the real movie was so bad that the director, Arthur Hiller, removed his name from the credits and went by Alan Smithee in the production because he didn't want his name attached to it. And then after this whole fiasco, the Directors Guild of America unregistered the name Alan Smithee. So this was the last time that name was ever used in a movie. This is so meta in the worst possible way. Eric Idle, who plays the lead role of Alan Smithee, while he was supposed to be promoting this film, was heard in interviews calling it rather dreadful. He said that he was actually disappointed he didn't receive a Razzie nomination for his acting, but I'm sure he can take solace in the fact that the movie won several Razzies, including Worst Picture and Worst Screenplay. Let's move on to the final depths of this iceberg chart with tier 6. I'm gonna start it off with a movie title that is so stupid. If I told you there was a movie called I Killed My Lesbian Wife, hung her on a meat hook, and now I have a 3-picture deal at Disney, would you believe that it was made by Ben Affleck? This was Ben Affleck's directorial debut, and today he
I mean, he put a lot onto that name. He looked at that and said, "My God, that's a masterpiece right there. That's gonna get millions."
completely disowns it and says he is not proud of what he made. I knew I wanted to be a director, and I did a couple short films, and this is the only one that haunts me. Fair enough. Worst movie title of all time? Possibly. Let's check out the plot, see if it's any better. Oh, sick. Plot is horrible too. And the title isn't even accurate. He hung his lesbian wife on a meat hook, then he killed her. You can watch the whole movie on YouTube. It's only 16 minutes long. And in a strange twist of events, the last scene of the movie shows the lead actress dropping a couple books on the ground, and they happen to be written by Marianne Wilson, who you might be familiar with because she most recently ran for president. What's the significance of all this? I don't know. And I don't think Ben Affleck knows either. Taylor Mead's Ass is a 70-minute long film by Andy Warhol, consisting entirely of a guy named Taylor Mead's booty. According to author Stephen Watkins, Taylor Mead had achieved a degree of fame that inspired backlash. One example of this was a letter sent to the Village Voice in 1964, which complained about films focusing on Taylor Mead's ass for 2 hours. Mead replied in a letter to the publication by stating that no such film was found in the archives, but we are rectifying this undersight. 2 days later, Warhol shot the 60-minute opus that consisted entirely of Taylor Mead's butt. Unfortunately, this is the last film that Mead and Warhol worked on together. Mead apparently felt betrayed by Warhol for not showing the film. Taylor Mead unfortunately passed away in 2013, but I did find this interview on YouTube of him that's really interesting. And as of when that interview was shot, he still definitely held a lot of animosity towards Warhol, calling him cheap and someone who constantly broke promises, a terrible liar, New York Hollywood trash, and an asshole. But then he clarifies, an ass Warhol. But despite the insults, he still called calls Warhol a genius and says he misses him very much. He shares another story about him saving Andy Warhol's life from a gunman while Mead was on Quaaludes. Just a really interesting guy and a great butt. Spring Break is an 1883 sex comedy that follows two sets of two college guys spending their spring break together in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, my hometown. But the most interesting thing about this movie is the poster for it. The movie poster featured the hips of 18-year-old bikini model Tammy Leppert. However, not long after the film was released, she mysteriously vanished and has never been found since. It's a pretty bizarre case. Tammy was a teen model who appeared in the front of CoverGirl magazine and competed in nearly 300 beauty pageants. After finishing the filming of Spring Break, she went to a party unaccompanied and she came back a completely different person. She filmed a small part for the movie Scarface, but she returned home after 4 days of filming, and her mother assumed she had been afraid of being murdered and that she had become delusional. She was last seen in Cocoa Beach on July 6th, 1983. Apparently, a friend had an argument with her while driving her and later left her in a parking lot. He was the last person to have seen her, but is not considered a suspect. There's a theory that she may have been a victim of Florida serial killer Christopher Wilder, also known as the Beauty Queen Killer, who killed 8 or 9 young female models before dying in a shootout with police in 1984. Another person of interest was John Crutchley, also known as the Vampire Rapist, who was a convicted kidnapper and rapist who killed as many as 30 women. He committed suicide in prison in 2002. Tammy's mom theorizes that she might have been murdered because of her knowledge of local drug trafficking. She said she exhibited signs of paranoia, was cautious when consuming food, and would not drink from open containers. She also apparently filed a police report. I just think it's pretty crazy that a movie poster led me down this rabbit hole for a missing girl in my hometown. Clown House is a 1985 slasher film that was the directorial debut of Victor Salva. It starred 3 young child actors, including Sam Rockwell, and it's about 3 younger brothers stalked by escaped mental patients disguised as clowns. Clown House became the subject of controversy. In 1988, Salva was convicted of sexual misconduct with one of the Clown House's underage stars who was
There's always one of them, right? In Hollywood, there's more of those than meet the eye. Hollywood is a damned place when it comes to people thinking they can take advantage of other actors or actresses because of their power.
12 years old at the time. Commercial videotapes and magazines containing child pornography were also found in his home. Because of the controversy, home media releases for the film were removed from distribution and are out of print. He was sentenced to 3 years in state prison, of which he only served 15 months. After he completed his parole in 1992, he went on to create the franchise Jeepers Creepers, which set multiple Labor Day box office records. In Jeepers Creepers 3, there's even a controversial storyline involving child molestation. This part ended up being removed from the theatrical cut, but it was present in the screening for the critics. I hate everything. These last 2 entries don't even have Wikipedia articles for them. I found these on a separate Iceberg chart that I'll give credit to right here, and I fell in love with them, so I had to include them. 666, Beware the End is at Hand. Where to begin with this one, man? When I was first doing my research for this movie, I looked it up on YouTube, and I found a different movie made by the same people, but it was called Signs of End Times. And I was confused at first because I wasn't sure if it was the same movie, but just titled differently. But then I realized that it is a separate movie, so maybe it's a sequel. It's hard to tell which one comes first because on the director's IMDb page, he's credited with directing 20 movies in just the year 2007. I was able to find the actual movie on archive.org, and I'm so glad that I did. I became transfixed by this thing. And I want to give credit to filmophilehideout.com because they had a great write-up for this movie. And it gave a lot of context as well. They talk a little bit about how the Nigerian film industry produces more movies per year than any other country in the world. And about 20% of those movies are Christian films. So to put it into perspective, Nollywood produces more Christian films per year than all of Hollywood's movies combined. And one of those Christian films was 666, Beware the End is at Hand. This movie is so long, they had to cut it into 2 parts. And they really know how to start a movie off with a bang. It begins with Satan impregnating a woman by making her lick an open wound on a man's leg. I'm not sure that's how that works. As foul as that is, there's apparently an original cut of this movie that has an exceedingly gruesome birth scene that was cut out in the later version. But either way, she gives birth to a boy with devil horns. I really enjoyed this one scene with Satan and his friends in their lair, throwing people into a cage and laughing as they burn to death. Then a half hour into the movie, we have an 8-year time jump where we now see the devil horned baby as an 8-year-old bully. And anytime he does something mean, his eyes glow different colors. The hero of this movie is a pastor pastor who spends most of the movie just delivering sermons and preaching to people, and it takes up so much screen time. And when the pastor finally meets the devil boy, it's in this alleyway, and they get into this Dragon Ball Z style fight where they're shooting light orbs from their hands. There's a few more scenes with the devil kid in it, and then he just disappears from the movie completely, with 2 hours still left in the movie. Then Satan comes down to Earth, and one of Satan's minions tries to suck a guy's eye out with a vacuum cleaner, and someone is kidnapped, and then the minions start laughing, and then the movie's over. So I guess the devil wins. So taking everything that I learned from this movie, the pastor takes up most of the movie preaching to people and doing these boring sermons, while Satan spends most of the movie hanging out with his friends, laughing, having a good time, doing whatever they want. It just makes me question whose side I'm supposed to be on. All this being said, the movie poster is awesome, and nobody can deny them of that. Cool Cat fights coronavirus. Cool Cat fights coronavirus, and in doing so provides nightmare fuel. Cool Cat is the main character in the Cool Cat cinematic universe created by Derek Savage. This film series is, I think, supposed to be for kids, but his main demographic nowadays is definitely folks that love bad movies. The first installment of the CCCU is Cool Cat Kids Superhero, which claims to be the anti-bullying and kids gun safety movie. At first I figured it was just one of those home movies and I didn't want to knock it too much, but then I saw the top cast included Eric Estrada. That gave this movie enough legitimacy. You can order the DVD on Amazon for $11.99, also includes a keychain, but I'd like to focus on one of the newer installments of this series, Cool Cat Fights Coronavirus. All Cool Cat wants to do is boogie woogie, but when Dirty Dog casts the coronavirus plague on the world, Cool Cat's the only one who can stop him for some reason. The two kids in this movie are way better actors than the movie deserves. I'm not even kidding, they bring some solid energy to this thing. But besides that, this movie is nothing but nonsense. There's two separate 4-minute long rap scenes, and not a single rhyme is uttered in either of them. In the beginning, a news show begins with the host announcing that his best friend caught coronavirus, and as Dirty Dog devises his plan to us, he explains that he's planning on hitting Cool Cat with a water balloon because cats hate water. But to top it off, Dirty Dog is going to cough on the water balloon so that when it explodes, it'll infect Cool Cat with coronavirus. I just feel like if that's his intention, there's gotta be an easier way to do this. Whenever Dirty Dog is fleeing a scene, they don't cut away for a while, and so it leaves this perfect moment of silence as this man dressed as a dog is running away from the camera. This is the first children's movie in history that ends with a giant talking dog declaring he's going to shoot up a school. When producing the movie, Derek announced that he was making it only 20 minutes long in order to get it into the American school systems. The most viewed video on his YouTube channel is a pitch that he made to PewDiePie to guest star in his new movie, Cool Cat Stops a School Shooting. Shoot your shot, man. Personally, I find Cool Cat to be really disturbing, and I can't figure out why. Might be because of the visual similarities that he has with the puppet in Too Many Cooks.
What are you doing?
If you've made it this far in the video, I just wanted to say thank you for watching. I really love going down these rabbit holes on the internet, so if it's something that you
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, hope you all enjoyed this reaction video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.